Do you want to know what makes love grow? What makes love grow? It's half of your deen, said the Prophet, peace be on him. Half of your deen. It's part of Islam, increasing your iman. Half of our deen. halfourdeen.com.
The Marriage Mirage. Before you can be a surgeon, you have to go to school for a very long time. They don't just give you a knife and say, I hope you figure it out. You learn and then you operate. But when it comes to getting married, it's kind of like sign here, congratulations, you're married, Mubarak! And we hope you guys figure each other out, otherwise you'll end up in divorce court, and we hope you have a great lawyer. Yes, the average divorce rate is 50%. Divorce? What are you talking about? We love each other like no one's ever loved each other in their life. And like, we're never gonna fight, ever. Right, honey bunny? Right, honey bunny? Honey bunny, bunny? Honey bunny? Yeah. You must be newlyweds, right? Yeah. You think marriage is like what you see on the movies? I guess. It's not! You see, in the first phase of marriage, everything's lovey-dovey. Your spouse can do no wrong because all those little things that they do that you're not used to is just so cute. But after a period of time, those little things can drive you crazy. You realize that marriage isn't as perfect as you imagine, and it takes effort to make it work. You see, when the love potion wears off, you realize Prince Charming's really bad habit of leaving his sweaty socks on the couch. And for the guys, you realize that your little princess keeps accepting these invitations that put you in these awkward situations because you get to these get-togethers where it's just all her friends and you. That's awkward. But that's still not what breaks couples apart. So what does break couples apart? Communication, or the lack of. Yes, many couples have a failure to communicate. I can't really blame them because for the longest times we guys hang out with guys and girls hang out with girls. So we get used to communicating in a certain way. The problem comes when two people who communicate differently try to communicate with each other, but they don't consider how the other side communicates or understands things. And that's when the drama begins. You see, some couples, they figure it out, but most couples don't. And unfortunately, they end up in divorce status shortly after. Or they stayed married and miserable, sitting in therapy, paying someone to help them figure each other out. Well, I'm gonna try to save you 90 bucks an hour paying someone to tell you how your spouse communicates. Because I'm making videos that do that, but I'm doing it for free. It's all part of my new matchmaking project where I try to help people find each other, but more importantly than just finding each other, I want them to stay together, inshallah.
Forgive and forget.
No matter how much you think you guys love each other, every relationship's gonna have its ups and downs. I love you, honey bunny. I hate you. Aw, you're so sweet. Why are you always so bitter? You're getting on my nerves. You're driving me crazy. Gosh. I love you. I love you too. I never agreed with you. I never agreed with you. You better listen or else. Or else what? Or else this. Gosh. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry too. If you talk to a couple a month after the argument, a woman is more likely to remember every mean thing the guy said. And the guy will probably forget they even had an argument. Argument? What argument? This is because guys forget way easier than girls do. Not only do girls find it extremely hard to forget hurtful words, but they remember it for a very long time. And that's why one day your wife will wake up angry at you. And you'll be confused because everything was just great the day before. Why is she angry? So your question probably is, what happened from yesterday to today? Nothing. You see, you did something 3 months ago, and today she's angry about it. You can't remember what you did last week, let alone 3 months ago, so you're like, what? But she remembers it all, because that memory is attached to an emotion, and that makes it very hard to forget. Some women find it strange how easily men forget things. Not only that, some men can forgive as quickly as they can forget. In fact, two guys can fist fight with one another, and months later become best friends, Not just regular friends, best friends. But the same situation isn't likely for girls. If two girls who are best friends fight and say mean things to each other, say hurtful things to each other, most likely those two girls are never going to have that same relationship again. They may become friends one day, but they're never going to become best friends like the way they were before. The lesson here for men is that women are not just externally different than men, but internally as well. You can't just say things to her like she's one of the guys and expect things to just bounce off of her. You know, she's not one of the guys. She's your wife. The best way to deal with your wife, especially when it comes to criticism, is to treat her like you're carrying a very gentle vase. So be careful of the words you say to her so it doesn't come back to haunt you one day. And remember everyone, unfortunately so many relationships have ended over the smallest things. At the end of the day, we're all human beings, and human beings make mistakes. And if you're expecting perfection in your marriage, then you're living in a dream world. The fact is that we're all going to make errors from time to time, so we need to learn to forgive and forget. Forgiving is forgetting as well. You don't ask for forgiveness one day and then one day it comes back to haunt you. That's not forgiving. That's forgiving temporarily. That's not like forgiving. Real forgiving is like forgiving and forgetting and letting it go. As hard as it is, you have to let it go. And if the day comes up that your spouse does something hurtful or says something hurtful to you, try to forgive them with the hopes that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be more forgiving with you on the day of judgment.
Direct and indirect.
Men say women are complicated. Women say men are complicated. The reality is that neither side is complicated, they just communicate differently. The biggest mistakes young couples do is that they assume the opposite sex communicates the same way they do. They don't. That's why they're called the opposite sex. So let's start with the guys. When a guy says, I want tea, do you know what it means? Do you know what it means? Can I have a drum roll, please? Drum roll! It means he just wants tea. That's it. He just wants tea. Maybe saying no to tea means there's something wrong and he wants to talk about it. No, there's nothing wrong. He doesn't want to talk about anything. He just wants to drink tea. But could you imagine? Can you imagine if guys weren't like that and they weren't just direct? If there was something wrong, you had to decode everything he's saying. For guys, it would be like this. Yeah. Then when you said, do you want tea? I was like, I couldn't hold it anymore. I was like, no. But I'll still take tea if you got it. But most girls don't speak directly like guys. They speak indirectly. Like for example, if they want something, they'll make an indirect comment about something and then wait for your response. You're basically dropping hints with the hopes that you're decoding her hints, but you're not because you know how to do it. She is assuming this because all her girlfriends are able to do this easily. They speak indirectly, decode, speak indirectly, decode. This is easy. They do it unconsciously. But the fact is, you're a guy and you don't have the female decoding book, so you have no idea what she's trying to say to you. In other words, girls have the ability to indirectly speak about things, and every girl knows exactly what they're saying without them actually saying what they're saying. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you know what I'm saying? If you're a girl, you know what I'm saying, but if you're a guy, you're like, no, I don't know what you're saying. You see, for guys, we're completely clueless when it comes to these things because we don't know how to speak indirectly. We only know how to speak directly. We don't even see the point of speaking indirectly because when we want something, we just say it directly. Like, if I want this, I say I want this. I want this doesn't mean I want that or that. It means I want this. Simple as that. Least number of words possible. I want this. This means this, not this means that. There's no hidden meaning or decoding when it comes to guy talk. But for girls, it's a different story because their communication system is different. Let me explain. In a group of girls, there's no pecking order or any leader. And thus, to keep the sisterhood in harmony, everyone is equal. If a girl tries to be the leader or tries to tell people what to do, she comes across as aggressive or bossy, and that's not really a positive trait in a group of girls. While it's normal for guys to be aggressive with one another, for girls, it's a big no-no. So girls speak indirectly with one another, which allows them to get a point across without it coming across in a negative way. But the problem is when that indirect girl marries that direct guy and they start communicating, things don't get across, and then there's no decoding and there's coding and all this crazy stuff going on, and everyone gets confused. Both sides assume the other side is understanding what they're saying. The husband thinks that the wife understands things like him, and the wife thinks that the husband thinks like her. Then you end up with all this drama and misunderstanding which can be completely avoided. You can stop this whole drama and rewind this whole thing backwards. Rewind it.
Directly and indirectly.
Men say women are complicated. Women say men are complicated. Wait a second. I said rewinded. Not like I didn't literally mean rewinded. I meant rewinded as like forward, forward. Okay, much better. What was I saying? Oh, this is what I was saying. The solution for better communication is to understand how the opposite sex communicates. The best way to do this is to pick up some books and try to read, and there's plenty of these inside the bookstore. If you're too lazy to read, I'm making videos with the hopes that inshallah that some of the people out there will pick up some of these things, so when you go and get married, you stay married. So my advice for both sides is this. Girls, if you're speaking to your husband, speak to him directly because that's the language he understands. I know it's awkward for you because you always speak indirectly to girls, but this is your husband, so he understands things in a specific way. And if you speak to him directly, he doesn't take it offensively, he doesn't take it in a negative way, and he'll understand it much better. And if you do so, it makes it 10 times easier for him. And guys, when you're speaking to your wife, remember, you don't want to always say things directly to her. Sometimes it can come across the wrong way, especially when it comes to criticisms. So when you're saying something, kind of get the words in your head first and then say it. And that way it won't come across the wrong way. Remember, the couples that are able to communicate better have a much better time being married.
Why men get stressed.
Men and women deal with stress differently. Today, we'll talk about men. If a man is stressed, he just needs some alone time to resolve his problems by himself. Keyword, by himself. That's 2 words. Yeah, I know, but you know what I mean. So when a man is stressed, he doesn't need to talk about it. By default, a girl will be like, he looks stressed out. Let me go ask him what's wrong. So you go up to him and ask him what's wrong. He keeps saying nothing. You keep asking him what's wrong. He says nothing. And you keep asking him and asking him. You think you're trying to help him, but you're really not because it's bothering him and annoying him because guys like to be by themselves. This is how we fix our problems. You see, the reason why guys don't want to talk about it because naturally they're problem solvers. So when he's stressed and he's quiet, sitting there in the corner by himself, that means he's problem solving quietly. So to better understand what he's going through, imagine you have a very difficult math problem. And while you're trying to come up with the solution, someone's over your shoulder saying, what's the problem? What's the solution? What's the problem? You have an answer yet? You have a solution yet? You need help? You want to talk about it? You want to talk about it? This can drive you crazy. So although you're trying to help, he defines it as nagging because it's annoying him while he's trying to resolve his problem. Honestly, guys, when a girl keeps asking what's wrong, she's really trying to help because girls naturally try to talk through their problems. So they assume that you need to talk through your problem. They just don't know that you don't need to talk through your problem. And it's actually the exact opposite, that you need to be alone to solve your problem by yourself. So for the girls watching, he's going to try to resolve the problem the best he can by himself. And when he can't, he'll either go to a friend or he'll come to you and ask you for advice. Until then, please leave him alone. You see, most girls don't understand how a guy's mind works, so I'll try to break it down, inshallah. The man's brain is compartmentalized. You see, a male's brain is compartmentalized. Compartments. I can't pronounce the word, it's too hard. Basically, we think in little compartments. In other words, a man's brain thinks about one thing at a time. His brain is built for problem solving. So when he's stressed and he can't resolve his own problems, all he has to do is think about something different, and that takes his mind off of whatever's stressing him. So for some guys, they watch TV, other guys, they just go for a walk, and some guys just play sports. So if you see your husband stressed, just say, look, you look kind of stressed. If you need anyone to talk to, I'm here. Otherwise, I'll leave you alone. I know this sounds crazy because it's the exact opposite of what you want, but again, he's the opposite sex, and that's why it's called the opposite sex, so he thinks opposite. Just trust me. You'll be amazed at how effective a little alone time can be for him. And when he comes back around, it'll be as if he was never stressed. Amazing, huh?
Why women get stressed.
The biggest problem between men and women is that we think the opposite sex thinks like we do. They don't. This is why they're called the opposite sex. You see, when a guy sees another guy stressed out, we don't call him and say, hey, you want to talk about your problem? That's not how guys do things. We figure if a guy can't resolve his own problem, he'll contact us, and that's what usually happens. So when a guy asks another guy for help, he's asking for a solution to his problem. Guys, this is where the confusion happens with girls, because when a girl starts talking about a problem, the first thing we start doing is, here's a solution, here's a solution, here's a solution. But she doesn't want your solution. And then you wonder, why is she asking me if she doesn't want my solution? And then you're like, forget it, I'm wasting my time. And then an argument happens, and a disagreement happens, and this and that. And next thing you know, you're not talking to each other over nonsense. And I'm trying to make sense out of it, inshallah. So here we go. She gets frustrated because she's not looking for a solution. And he gets frustrated because he thinks she doesn't value his solution. Sounds like a beginning of an argument, so let's clear up the channels of communication before the war starts. Most of the time, girls don't want a solution to a problem, they just want someone to hear them out. This is very hard for guys to understand because we are naturally problem solvers and we suck at listening. That's why many of us guys get told, you just don't listen. Even though we thought we were listening. Because for girls, listening means showing empathy, not throwing out solutions. One of the biggest mistakes between husband and wife is we assume our spouse thinks like we do. You see, for guys, when we get stressed out, we want to be left alone. So a rookie husband would probably look at his wife that's really, really stressed out and say, she looks really, really stressed out. Maybe I should leave her alone. Big mistake! Yeah, that's maybe what you want, but that's not what she wants. If you leave her alone, it's only going to make things worse. You see, guys, when we're stressed, we just want to be left alone, and that's how we resolve our problems. But girls handle their stress completely differently. For girls, they need to talk through their problems with somebody else. They do this because this is how they process their thoughts. In other words, all you have to do is listen and show empathy, and she'll think you're the best husband in the whole wide world. Trust me. If you don't believe me, ask her. She's sitting right next to you. Unless you're not married, then you can go to halfourdeen.com where I will try to help you find someone to get married to. Ali, was that a plug? No, that's not a plug. This is a plug. Also, while I'm at it, let me make sure I mention listening does not mean every time she starts talking about a problem, you interrupt and say, oh, you know what you should do? They hate that because they assume you're not listening because you're sitting there problem solving when you should be listening. And if you listen to her problems and sympathize with her feelings, she'll love you even more. As simple as the advice is in my videos, I myself forget all the time because naturally I think like a guy. I feel like I'm constantly swimming against the waves, but it's worth it because the tranquility in marriage is priceless. A lot of arguments in marriage are over nonsense, and I hope these videos will inshallah prevent many of those unnecessary arguments.
Why girls love shopping.
When guys hang out, they like to do things. And when girls hang out, they like to talk about things. You see, for guys, we don't need to talk when we get together. So when we get a call from a friend to go play some basketball, it's pretty safe to say that no one's going to be talking about their feelings. The only talking involved will be on the basketball court, and it'll go something like this. Foul! If I knew you guys were going to foul me like this, I would have got health insurance. Traveling! Why you travel, brother? Every time you get to basketball, you take 3 steps. 2 steps. 2 steps is enough, brother. Why you take 3? I hope you made niyah because you've been traveling all day, brother. All day. The amazing thing is guys can do things together that involve zero talking and everyone can have a great time. For example, a bunch of guys will go fishing, sit on a boat for hours and not say a word to each other. And as long as everyone comes back with some fish, everyone's happy. But if you put 4 girls on a boat and tell them that no one's allowed to talk to each other for the next few hours, I don't think they're going to be very happy. The reason why is women are much more social and they like to do things that involve communication. And this is one of the reasons they love shopping. Many guys think that women like shopping because they just want to buy stuff. But for women, it's much more than that. When girls go shopping, it's an opportunity to try on new things, see new designs, and talk to their best friend about whatever's going on in their world. But when men go shopping, it's only when they need something. They go to the mall, directly to that one store that sells that one specific item that they're looking for, and if they don't have it, they leave. Disappointed. Since men are goal-orientated, they need to have a goal when they go shopping. But for women, they don't need a goal to go shopping. They just go shopping. And they shop in a way that drives the average man crazy. Men do not understand that why are we in this store trying on stuff that you cannot afford and I cannot afford? Again, the woman is not here to buy things. She's here to try on new things, have a new experience, see what's cool, see what's new. And the man's like, I don't understand the point. What is the point? A man does not understand what's going on, so it drives him crazy. You see, a woman can spend hours in the mall, come home empty-handed, and say they had a great time. Because unlike guys, they don't have that goal-oriented system built inside of them, so they can go shopping without having a goal. And when they go shopping and they don't come back with anything, they're happy. And there's no big deal. But for men, shopping is a very frustrating experience, especially when there's women involved. This is because a man is walking around the mall, following his wife, trying to find out what she needs. And since she doesn't need anything, he doesn't understand why we're in the store. Why are we in the store? And she's walking around, in and out the stores, having the time of her life. While her husband's 10 steps behind her, dragging his feet, saying, can we go home now? Can we go home now? And she'll be like, why do you want to go home? We're having a great time, aren't we? No? So my advice for the girls watching this video is to tell your husband ahead of time that there's no goal. Because by default, guys assume that there's a goal and there's a purpose for going shopping. So you have to tell him ahead of time that the purpose of today is to spend time together, not necessarily to buy anything. Now, I can't guarantee that he'll still want to come, but at least he won't be ruining your shopping experience by complaining and saying he wants to go home, he wants to go home. So with that in mind, you may want to take one of your female friends. You'll probably have a much better time, and he's going to probably thank you for it too.
Why guys watch sports.
Do you ever notice how guys watch sports together? We're so amazed when we see a ball thrown, shot, cut, or kicked. What? Wow, did you see that? Did you see that? I saw that too. High five. Yeah, after a good play, guys will celebrate in different ways. Let me give you some examples. The high five. High five. The pointing fingers. We won, we won, we won, we won, we won. We won. The victory dance. We're winning. What were we doing again? Winning. The shake. And then there are some people who act all weird because they're not really sports people, so they don't know what to do, so they do all this weird stuff. The weird stuff. We are winning, we are winning, we are winning. Usually guys will just look at each other when someone does something weird, but in the heat of the moment and everyone's winning and the sports team that you want is winning, they let that stuff slide. Well, at least most of the time. Unless it gets like too weird. But for most women, they don't see what the big deal is. You'll be like, did you see that? Did you see that? And a woman will be like, of course I saw that. I've been sitting next to you for like the last hour, so I don't know what the big deal is. When are you going to take out the trash? And you'll be like, trash? What trash? I'll tell you what trash is. Trash is what the other team is getting. Those calls that the ref is giving them. I can't believe it. But it's okay. It's okay because we're winning. We're winning. You ever wonder why women get bored watching hours of sports? Do you ever wonder why men are glued to the TV like moths to a flame? It's all about how our brains are wired. The male brain is stimulated when it deals with spatial things. So our brains are fascinated when it comes to calculating moving targets. So much so that society as a whole pay millions of dollars to people who can do it well, and we sit there and watch it. And we're like, wow! And then you have brain surgeons and all these different doctors and engineers, all these prestigious positions, but they don't have the funds. They don't get the funds as much as these people. They don't get the millions of dollars. You never see a brain surgeon getting millions of dollars. You wonder why. I wonder why. Actually, I can't wonder too much because I'm watching the game. Sorry, guys. Goal! Some say the part of the brain of the man that sits there and wants to calculate distance and space is because once we were hunters, we had to calculate distance and space. We see a moving target, an animal, running from this side to that side. We had to be good at calculating. The people who were good at calculating distance and space were the ones who were fed and ate. And the people who didn't eat. You see, long before the supermarket, people had to actually catch their food. Now, these days, instead of using that energy to hunt for food, we use it to argue how halal the meat is. But that's a whole different video if you know what I mean. Anyways, times have changed, but our brains are still wired the same. So since guys are hungry for that spatial stimulation, most of us turn to sports to satisfy the hunger. We sit there for hours watching as people run around hitting a moving target, and we get excited every time they reach their goal. Goal! We become so amazed and watch every detail that we keep stats on the players. On the other hand, the average woman can care less how many points your favorite players scored during the season. You see, for most women, they become more interested in the sport if they know something about the player. Like, who is he married to and how many kids does he have? But the average man can care less about such details. Thus, this makes it boring for either side to watch sports together. For the guys watching this video, remember, you're not married to the sport. You're married to your wife. And you need to give her her time too. You know, a lot of women will feel distant and bored when you watch sports without them. So if you're going to watch, you might as well get her involved as well. But remember, watching sports with your wife is different than watching with the guys. Because your wife will be watching and she'll be like, hey, oh, who is that? Do you know who he's married to? Do you know how many kids they have? Questions that you may not care about, so you may not see the point of answering it. But if you answer these questions for her, she'll enjoy the sport more and she's more likely to sit down and watch it with you, which means you guys can spend more time together. Imagine that. That way you guys can spend time together and your wife won't be like, hey, I need to change the channel, and she'll end up watching some female show about girl issues. You're like, oh, I should listen to Baba Ali. You should listen to Baba Ali. And if you do, your whole situation might be completely different. You'll be like, honey, do you want me to take out the trash? And she'll be like, are you kidding? There's 2 minutes left in this game. Where are you going? What? You know who that is, right? That's the one who's married to so-and-so and has 3 kids. High five. And you'll be like, high five, honey. Thanks, Baba Ali. You're welcome.
The female point system.
Most guys are completely unaware that girls keep a point system. It's not like girls carry a scorecard around with them, but it's more like they make mental notes on all the good stuff and bad stuff you do. I know this sounds very confusing to guys because we don't pay attention to details, we just look at the bigger picture. But girls pay attention to details. And many of them do it unconsciously. It's like they keep this scorecard in their mind unconsciously. What is this scoring thing, brother? Oh, basically, women use a female scoring system to rate their marriage. They make like little mental notes on all the good stuff and bad stuff you do. I think I have pretty good score. Actually, you're not looking too good, bro. Brother, what are you talking about? I bought her 12 roses for $30. That should count as 30 points. Well, for girls, everything counts as 1 or 2 points, so even though you bought 12 roses, it still counts as 1 point. I spent $30 for 1 point? Women are complicated. They're not complicated, they're just different. I mean, they view things differently than we guys do. Once you understand how a woman's mind thinks, it'll make your relationship much better. You see, for guys, we look at the bigger picture, and that's why when we try to do things, we try to do everything big. For example, you may want to surprise your wife and change the bathroom tiles, something that she's been asking you to do for like the longest time, and you're like, okay, I'll put a whole Saturday aside, change all the tiles, and she'll be really surprised, and this will count as something huge for her. Although she may very much appreciate it, it still counts as 1 point. Now, this can be very confusing for guys because you're like, this took me a whole day to do. How do you count this as 1 point? Again, she appreciates it, but she looks at it differently than the way you do. You see, women view the finer details in things. So even though you gave her 12 roses, it counted as 1 point. But if you gave her 1 rose each month for 12 months, it's still the same 12 roses, but it counts as 12 points. I know this sounds confusing to guys because you're like, 12 roses, it's the same thing, but no. The way a girl views it is like, oh, he's thinking of me, and since you're thinking of her 12 times, it counts as 12 points. Does that make sense? And the very fact that you thought of her in 12 different occasions is much more valuable to her than the amount of money, be that $30 or even $100 that you spend on roses, because, as they say, it's the thought that counts. On the flip side of the coin, every time you do something negative, it's a negative point on your scorecard. Oh, I don't think I have negative points. Actually, you do. You got negative points for stinking up the bathroom, not turning on the vent, forgetting to take out the trash, and making fun of her in front of her friends. She remembers all of that? Yeah, girls don't forget that easily. So next time you wonder why your wife is suddenly angry even though you think you did nothing wrong, it's probably because you have more negative points than positive points on your scorecard. And because women don't forget as easily as men do, they'll probably like remember something from 2 months ago that you did that bothered them, and now they're angry today. You don't believe me? Go ask her. A lot of this stuff is brand new to guys because we're like, dude, that's so different than the way I think. And that's where all this miscommunication and misunderstandings come from. If you can understand better how girls think, and girls can understand better how guys think, it can help resolve a lot of the disputes that are unnecessary and can be avoided. The better we understand each other, the stronger our relationships can become, inshallah. And that's why I'm making these videos.
Attraction, or the lack of.
Imagine I give you 10 different perfumes to smell. Some of them you would like, and some of them you won't like. Do you really have a choice of what you like? No, not really. No one can really force you to like something. Smell it! I don't like it. You like it? You like it? I don't like it. You like it? I don't like it. Like it? I like it. I like it. But in reality, you really don't like it. I mean, you really don't have any control on which smells you like. And it's kind of the same thing when it comes down to who you're attracted to. Some people will find you attractive and some people just don't. The point is, you really don't have a choice of who you find attractive. So we really can't take it personal when someone's not attracted to us. The amazing part is when you watch people go through denial. They become interested in someone and they don't understand how that person can't feel the same way. I mean, just because you find someone attractive, it doesn't mean that they find you attractive as well. Why don't you find me attractive? Because I told you to smell it? Smell it! The most awkward thing, and I've seen this happen many times, is where people try to communicate the opposite side and ask why? Why? Why are you not attracted to me? Joke! Isn't that a good thing? It actually can come across in a very bad way, makes you look all desperate and stuff, and you're not desperate. So you have to like, don't get all weird when someone says there's no chemistry, because if there's no chemistry, there's no chemistry. So what makes someone attractive and what doesn't make someone attractive? This is the million-dollar question. And many companies out there, advertisers, marketers, whatever, they try to sell your products to make you think that this makes you attractive or this makes you attractive. They define what attractive is. Well, in reality, these companies are just making money off you. They'll say, buy this, wear this, take this, drink this, eat this, and all this stuff. If you do it, it'll make you attractive. Of course, you have to pay us a lot of money, and then we'll make you attractive. Well, in reality, it doesn't really make you attractive. You know, what happened before all these products? People weren't attractive? Come on! There's different things that make you attractive, and every person is unique and attractive in their own way. For the 10 people that might not be attracted to you here, there's 10 other people that may be attracted to you there. You never know. Oftentimes, people are attracted to their opposites since opposites attract each other. A person on the quiet side might be attracted to someone who is more social. A person who happens to be short may be attracted to someone who is tall. A person who feels more insecure may be attracted to someone who feels more confident, etc., etc., etc. You get the picture. Sometimes being unique or rare is an attractive trait. In the Western world, tall, dark, and handsome is a common phrase. Now, dark may be an attractive trait in a society where most of the skin color is light. But that's not necessarily the case in other countries like India or Pakistan, where most of the skin is more on the darker side, so having light skin more be of an attractive trait, because that's more rare and unique. Another example would be, imagine a country where everyone has brown hair and brown eyes, then the opposite might be attractive, which would be someone who has blonde hair and blonde eyes. Wait a second, there's no such thing as blonde eyes. I know. My point is that it's kind of cool to be unique and rare sometimes because that's an attractive trait. And everyone is unique and rare in their own way. The only time we stop being unique and rare is when we try to copy like everyone else and try to be like them. Then we're all the same. Do you know what I'm saying? So remember, if you're caught in that situation where you feel like you have chemistry with someone but they don't have chemistry with you, you really can't take it personal because they don't have any control over it, just like you don't have any control over it. Instead, it's better to worry about things you do have control over. Remember, human beings are made in pairs, so there's someone out there for everyone. I hope you all find your other half. And if you can't find them, just go to halfardeen.com. Anyways, I hope this all makes sense and you like this video. You don't find me attractive? I find you attractive. If you set up 2 rooms, one with men, one with women, you'll notice that there's 2 different types of conversations going on. In the male room, you'll notice that there's a lot of male. Come on, Ali, I'm joking around. Okay. In the men's room, there are toilets. You get it? Men's room, like restroom. Come on, this is serious. Okay. In the room where the men are in, you're more likely going to hear conversations about information and facts. In the room where the women are in, you're more likely going to hear conversations about the relationships of different things. For example, in the guy room, they might be talking about this car that has 26.5 miles per gallon, and that's about a 14% reduction in torque, but it has this much more increase in horsepower and this and that, and then all these informational stats, and then they say you can save this much money if you drive at this amount of speed, etc., etc., etc. For many women, this kind of conversation isn't very interesting. But for many men, this conversation is interesting because it's information and it's accurate. And it wouldn't be interesting if information was inaccurate, like if someone came in and said, this car has 1,000,000 horsepower. For many women, the conversation doesn't have to be about technical data to make it interesting, and it doesn't have to be accurate. In the girls' room, they may be having a conversation about a car as well, but a girl can say something like, wow, I've been driving this car and it's fantastic, has great gas mileage. I go back and forth to school. I can go almost like an entire month without filling the gas tank. Now, if a man listens to this conversation, he may say something like, well, that's not very accurate because that's 60 miles back and forth to school per day, and that's about 30 miles per gallon, and that's about 1,800 miles, and I don't think that's going to work out, and because that information isn't very accurate, I don't think that's true. But the other women in the girls' room who heard the exact same statement know what she means because they don't take the words literally. But the problem is that men take things literally. So if a wife tells her husband, you never take out the trash, he may sit there and argue and say, I just took out the trash the other day. The issue is that he takes the words always and never literally. Women can shuffle these words around with each other because they know other women know what they mean. Like, they don't literally mean always and never every time they say always and never, but sometimes they can mean always and sometimes they can mean never. I'm not sure always and never when. What? I'm confusing myself. I'm a guy. What do you expect? Joke! My point here is that if you're trying to avoid miscommunications and arguments with your husband, remember that he remembers and understands things in a certain way by information and facts. So when you say things to him, he by default will take things literally. So if you don't mean it literally, kind of remind him if you get that expression. You know what I mean? And for the guys watching this video, remember that she doesn't literally mean everything she says. If you're wondering if she's exaggerating or if she literally means what she's saying, ask her. Because it's better to ask than to assume. It may prevent that next argument from occurring and keep you guys at peace, inshallah. Men and women show their love in different ways. Women are better at expressing their feelings and they're known for their communication skills. Men, on the other hand, are not known for their communication skills, so they don't all necessarily know how to show their feelings. Like love? No. I can't say it. Since most men lack in the area of showing their feelings, instead they try to do things to show their love. I shall walk the wildest deserts, swim the deepest sea, climb the highest mountain, all for you, my love. All for you. But the problem is, by the time you finish doing all that, she's probably got tired of waiting and she left. Have you seen my love? She was just here a few months ago, but for some reason she's not here. Well, if you see her, tell her I'll be back. That her love is looking for her. What women find more valuable is making them feel loved. I do make her feel loved. Just 2 months ago, I gave her flowers. She needs to be reminded more than once every few months that you love her. Why? The evidence is right here. I kept the receipt just in case. I'm keeping it for a tax write-off. I don't know if that's a tax write-off, but what I do know is that women like to be reminded more than once every 3 months that you actually like them. If you want a small piece of advice, it's this. On a daily basis, remind your wife by showing her that you love her. It can be something as small and simple as a text message, an email, a hug, or even a kiss. Just a small kiss? What are you doing? I was just practicing. As for men, they need to be reminded on how much you actually appreciate them. as I said earlier, a man shows his love by doing things for his wife. So it means the world to him when you acknowledge his efforts and you tell him how much you appreciate everything he does for you. That actually inspires him to work harder to make you happy. On the flip side, the opposite occurs when a wife doesn't show her husband that she actually appreciates him. And when that occurs, the husband's perspective is that his wife doesn't appreciate him and his efforts are wasted, and he starts to feel distant from her. It all comes down to a wife feels great when she knows she's being loved, and a husband feels great when he knows he's being appreciated. Now, I'm not saying that women don't want to be appreciated and men don't want to feel loved, but I'm just trying to show where the priorities are and what's the most important thing for each gender. Of course, my videos are general, and there's always exceptions to the rule. So you take everything with a grain of salt. But generally, this is how it works. Men like to feel appreciated, and women like to feel loved. Simple as that. Oftentimes, an argument occurs just because of simple miscommunication. A wife may make a statement and her husband translate that statement as a complaint. And for whatever reason, men translate complaints as, she doesn't appreciate me. Just like a woman would translate the lack of attention as, he doesn't care or he doesn't love me. For example, let's say a woman gets married and she relocates to her husband's new home. The transition phase can be quite difficult because everything is new. New friends, new location, new neighbors, a whole new life. For many women, being away from loved ones could be quite stressful at first. So she becomes homesick and tells her husband, I miss being home, I miss being around my friends, I miss my family, I wish we lived closer to them, etc., etc., etc. Her husband translates these statements as complaints and he responds, you knew we were going to move here, you knew where you were going to live, you knew you were not going to live next to your parents, so I don't understand why you're complaining now. She would respond that you're not listening to me and I'm not complaining. Why don't you listen to me? And then the argument begins. He feels distant because he's trying everything he can to try and make her happy, but no matter what, he feels like she just is emotional and she's sad and he gives up. He feels distant. He's like, I can't do anything. I can't do anything. All I hear is complaints, complaints, complaints. On the other side, she feels distant from him because he's not listening and because he's not trying to understand how she's feeling. This whole issue could be avoided if the husband tries to understand that every statement is not a complaint and sometimes she just needs to vent. And if he just sits down and listens to her, comforts her, it'll make her feel happy. And when she feels happy, he'll be happy. And all this unnecessary argument could be avoided. On the flip side, if she can make her statement clear, like, I'm not mad at you, I'm not complaining, I just need to vent and I just need to get it off my chest. If you can just listen to me, it'll make me feel so much better. That'll remind him that it's nothing personal against him and it'll help avoid any kind of miscommunication. As most of you know, I built a new website called Half Our Deen, which we're trying to help Muslims find their ideal match in a private and affordable way. And what's more important than finding each other is for them to stay together after they do. And I make these videos with the hopes that I can help couples figure each other out. Some people may not understand the importance of making these marriage videos, but I hope one day when they get married, they will, inshallah. But because I don't see any such videos being made, I feel like I need to. As I said, my goal for Half Our Deen is not just to help you find each other, but for you to stay married after you find each other. And that's why I make these videos with the hopes that people figure each other out, they don't divorce and get in arguments over silly things, and inshallah there's more tranquility in their marriage. And I don't get paid for making these videos, these are all done as a volunteer basis. Only Allah knows how much of an impact these videos will eventually make, but I really hope that if the videos are successful, then more and more couples will stay together and less divorces will occur. And if you'd like to help, feel free to post my videos on your blog, forum, Facebook. Hopefully, inshallah, it will reach to the eyes and the ears of those who may be going through some difficulties, and maybe, inshallah, you can prevent a lot of divorces and a lot of fights and a lot of arguments from occurring. And we, by putting our volunteer time and effort in making these videos and spreading them out as much as we can, may not see the rewards of our actions in this life, but we hope to see the fruits of our efforts on the Day of Judgment, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you for your efforts, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. This is Ali reminding you just in case you forgot. This is Ali reminding you just in case you forgot.
Do you want to know what makes love grow? What makes love grow? It's half of your deen, said the Prophet, peace be on him. Half of your deen. It's part of Islam, increasing your iman. Half of our deen. halfourdeen.com